Welcome to the Explainer. Tango often looks like this intimidating, fiery spectacle on stage, right? We're talking dramatic kicks, intricate spins, the whole shebang. But underneath all those flashy theatrical performances, it's actually a highly accessible, profoundly historical cultural language, and it's built entirely on subtle human connection. So if you're looking to refine your understanding of this incredible dance, demystify its underlying mechanics, and learn how to genuinely speak its unique language on the floor instead of just memorizing choreography, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're breaking this down step by step. We'll start with the roots of tango, decode the tango music, talk about taking your first physical steps, and wrap up with some highly practical tips for your practice. So, Section 1, the roots of tango. To truly grasp how this dance functions today, we've got to transport ourselves back to the late 1800s. Just imagine the bustling working-class social scenes, dimly lit cafes, and these intense late-night gatherings. Tango was born around the Rio de la Plata region, specifically developing in the impoverished port areas, or arrabales, of Buenos Aires and Montevideo. And, it was actually shunned by the upper classes at first. But as we moved to the turn of the century, it just flourished organically in local street life. And this brilliantly illustrates its evolution, because by the early 20th century, musical recordings started circulating. The dance literally took Paris by storm, gaining massive international visibility and transforming from a local pastime into a total global obsession. What makes this origin story so critical for anyone looking to truly understand the dance is the profound cultural melting pot it represents. We're talking about dynamic, everyday interactions between European immigrants, Afro-descendant communities, and existing local populations. They mix their unique rhythms, like heavily influenced by the African candombe, which actually gives tango its driving pulse, and the Cuban habanera, into one unified art form. Knowing this rich background is so helpful. It means that when you start practicing, you aren't just imitating a set of rigid steps. You're actively participating in a really rich, historical, and deeply human conversation. Moving right along to Section 2, decoding tango music. Listen, the auditory engine of this dance is absolutely everything. You literally have to internalize the music before you even step onto the floor. Now, a classic tango ensemble usually relies on 4 core instruments: the violin, the piano, the double bass, and the iconic bandoneon. Actually, here's a fascinating piece of history for you. The bandoneon was originally invented in Germany to serve as a portable organ for church music. Crazy, right? But it eventually found its true melancholic soul in the cafes and dance halls of Buenos Aires. Together, these instruments build the powerful backbone of the dance, creating a steady rhythmic pulse while simultaneously generating these incredible dynamic shifts between immense tension and sudden, sweeping release. So, how do you actually train your ear for this complex soundscape? Well, there are 3 key elements to isolate when you're listening. First, find the beat. This is your foundational walking rhythm, the steady heartbeat that's going to support your physical movement. Next up is the phrasing. You want to listen closely to how musical lines swell, how they initiate, and how they conclude. Finally, pay attention to the dynamics. Notice how the music can feel incredibly urgent and sharp one second and then suddenly become super soft and lyrical the next. Oh, and a crucial tip from the experts. If you're practicing at home, definitely stick to tracks explicitly described as classic or traditional at first. They are just way easier to map your ear to than modern experimental mixes. All right, Section 3, taking your first steps. I want you to mentally bring yourself right onto the edge of the dance floor. A classic track is playing, you hear the sharp breath of the bandoneon, you feel that heavy pulse in the bass. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is it highlights the biggest beginner trap out there. The expectation that tango is all about incredibly fast, flashy footwork with legs flying everywhere. But the reality, it's much quieter and honestly much more profound. Especially at the beginning, tango is fundamentally about connection and clarity. It's entirely about your posture and your balance. Your early goal isn't some crazy sweeping spin, it's simply learning to walk beautifully and purposefully in time with the music, all while maintaining your axis. And that leads us to an absolutely crucial technical concept emphasized by top instructors worldwide. The lead in tango actually travels through the upper body and through subtle weight shifts, not just through your legs. This distinction is paramount, guys. The very foundation of this dance is a shared center of gravity with your partner. You're not just memorizing complex leg movements in a vacuum. No, you're constantly communicating with your partner through your torso and through the incredibly subtle ways you transfer your weight from one foot to the other. It really is a full-body dialogue. So let's put that into action and see how this builds your physical practice. You're going to start very simply. Step 1, just mark time and place to the beat. Step 2, pause. Literally live in that pause and feel the musical tension build before you move again. Step 3, repeat that marking, and as your confidence grows, begin to melt your weight from one foot to the other into a fundamental walking sequence. You can then introduce basic turns that rely entirely on those slow, controlled weight transfers we just talked about. Remember, walking perfectly in time to the music is your true core goal as a beginner. Master the walk, and you are well on your way.
Which brings us to Section 4, Tips for Tango Practice.
Consider this your rapid-fire toolkit designed to significantly accelerate both your solo work at home and your partnered practice on the dance floor. First, pick a consistent practice track and actually count the beat out loud before you even move. It literally trains your brain to anticipate the rhythm. Second, keep your steps compact early on. Why? Because small steps help you maintain your axis and keep a much tighter connection with your partner. So the crucial point is that timing and control matter infinitely more than the size of your stride. Third, practice those weight changes very slowly to build genuine physical control. Fourth, use proper guidance, take a beginner class or dance along to slow tempo videos. And finally, record a short video session of yourself. Seriously, it's the most objective way to check your posture and make sure you're hitting the timing you hear in your head.
Ultimately, everything we've talked about today builds up to this beautiful reality from our source material. Tango is social by nature. You know, you can learn the basic steps in your living room, but tango is not a solo sport. Whether your goal is to dance beautifully or simply to understand the music on a deeper cultural level, your progress is going to accelerate exponentially when you attend a milonga, the traditional tango social event. The milonga is where the conversational skills of the dance are truly tested and refined with others. It's all about community, connection, and shared experience, exactly as it was in the late 1800s. Tango is, at its core, a conversation without words. You've got your beat, you've got your posture, and you have your compact steps down. But when you finally step onto the floor, the question isn't just what steps you will take. The real mystery is, when you step onto the floor, how will the dancer in front of you interpret the exact same melody and respond to your weight shifts? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. I really hope this has brought you closer to the heart of the music. Now go find a partner, listen closely to that bandoneon, and start the conversation for yourself.